Welcome back to ClickFunnels Quick Start Blueprint. This is Dan Havey with CFninjaHacks, and in this video we're finally going to get into the page editor. And how you do that is we're just going to click on the Edit Page button here. Now when I set up this page, it's an opt-in page type. I used one of my blank templates, so we're going to start with a completely blank slate here. So we're just going to click on Edit the Page, and we're going to come into the page. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with this side over here in this first video. Then in the second video, we're going to talk about the sections, rows, columns, elements all over here. And then in the video after that, the several videos after that, we're going to go through a lot of the individual elements and show you how to use each and every one of them. So let's start off with first, we have our desktop mode right here, which you see is full width on the page. And then we also have our mobile view right here. Now I'll tell you right now, I do have a video on, let's see where I have that video, mobile optimization right here, and we'll go through a little bit of this in the training, but for the most part the best thing to do is to come over here and check out your mobile optimization and your testing your mobile design once I go through and show you the basics on how all of this will work. So that is our mobile and our desktop. This little icon here does absolutely nothing. There's nothing to click on in here, so they really don't even need that on the page. So now let's go into our settings, and the first one we come to is our integrations. And as we discussed before, of course, we have our integrations training right here. Here's integration with Facebook, integrations with our email autoresponder, which is what we're talking about specifically here, and then also Twilio at the bottom. So what we did is we just came in here, we clicked on integration, and what we're saying here is now when somebody lands on this page, what do we want to happen? Now, assuming they put in an email address before getting to this page, or they put in an email address on this page, then it's going to trigger this event, and they're going to get an email sent to them. And so in this case here, we're going to come over, we're going to grab our integration. Now you can grab your ClickFunnels internal, and we'll just see here, we're going to say we're going to add them to an email list. We could, of course, do a tag. We could add a tag. We could unsubscribe the contact, and we could do whatever. But in this case here, we're going to say we want to add them to a list. And then we can pick a list, and I will just pick this seed list. Now, let's say you don't like this integration. We're going to say remove the integration. And again, we can choose something else. I have an account set up with MailChimp, and we are going to say again here, we're going to add them to a list in MailChimp, and we're going to add them to the real marketing list. Now here it says send confirm email. What that really means for MailChimp is that they're asking if we should send them a double opt-in. So send them a second email saying, okay, are you really sure you want to opt into this list? So what you want to do is you want to turn that off, because you don't have to send them that second email. So let's just turn that thing off. Now we have our integration in place. And again, I will just remove that integration because I don't need it. So now we have our SEO metadata. And in here, this is very important because this is the stuff that the search engines will read. They will read the entirety of the page. They'll read all the text on the page. They even have the ability to read the images and a lot of other things on the page. But this here is your title tag, technically, what you have right here. And whatever you type in here is what will show up right up in this tab right here. So on this page right here, the title tag says CFninjaHacks, members, content, or whatever the heck it says there. And then you can put in your page description as well. You can put in some keywords if you really want, author, and then here you put in your social image. So this is what's going to show up in if somebody were to drop a link to this in Facebook or Twitter or something like that. And so let's just put in this the picture of the arch here. So this is what the listing would look like. Let me just come in here to page description. Let's just put in some text right there. And then this is what the page will look like. But I have much more in-depth training on that. Where do I have that? Right down here, Google Analytics and SEO Metadata. I walk through how to set it all up. And then at the end, I show you then how to go into Facebook's debugger tool, run it through there so that you know for sure that when somebody types it into Facebook, exactly what it's going to look like. So check out this video right down here on SEO Metadata. So let's pop back out of that. Then we have our tracking code, and you just want to make sure, again, especially if you're using somebody else's template, make sure you come in here and there's no header or footer code that you're not aware of or that you don't know what it does. But again, once you start getting into writing JavaScript or something like that, if you choose to, this is where you would put it. If you're working with Jamie Smith's CF Pro Tools, again, you would put it either in the header or the footer code, whichever one Jamie tells you to put it into. And then we're going to jump down here right away to our custom CSS. Same thing here. Any custom CSS you have to do whatever on the page, to colorize things, to put shadows around things, whatever, you would put that in here. Now in between here, they just put in something new. It's called the Facebook Pixel. So we will click on this and we got our Facebook event. There's nothing set here because what you have to do to set this up is you have to come into your domain. So if you recall, we come up here to account settings, and then we come down to domains, and it pulls up all our domains. So we'll just click on the CFninjaHacks here, and we'll come down to Facebook conversion pixel, and we do expand and then add. And you can put in what your integration is here. Is going to be with Facebook. And then we can select a pixel because it just already went out because I have my Facebook connected with ClickFunnels already through the integrations, I think is where you hook that up. And then it's going to go out and it's going to find my Facebook pixel, which we can pick that pixel, and then you put in a token. Now, this is all brand new to ClickFunnels. I've never done it before. Frankly, I really don't mess much with Facebook pixels. So go check out the help docs inside of ClickFunnels. So it's, what is it? I think it's support.clickfunnels.com. Go there, find the help docs on this in order to set up that Facebook pixel. So let's see what we got next on our hit parade. Here we got background. And so let's click on that so we can put an image on the background. This is the background now for the entirety of the site. So whatever we put here is going to cover the entire site the whole time. Unlike where a section background would not. So let's just say we want to put in this image right here. And so you see here it goes all the way around and it fits into the page. But if we go to our background again, we can change what that looks like. So instead of full center fit, we can go fill 100% width. Basically, it didn't do anything because the image is pretty much shaped and sized right to be able to fit correctly on my window that I have open here. And then we can say no repeat, so it just sticks it up in the corner. We can repeat it around the page. We can repeat it horizontally and vertically and top and bottom. And to be honest with you, I've never used any of these down here. It's 99% of the time if I have a background image, it's full center fit, and that's all you want there. But now you can also set a background color, and let's set this to yellow. And you're going to see right now I set the background color to yellow. Now where I had it before, I had it transparent. And that's generally speaking where I will keep it most of the time, but I'm going to show you in cases where you wouldn't want to do that because, so like I said, we're going to set this to yellow, and then we're going to save the page, and we are going to preview this page. And what you're going to see when the page comes up is that yellow is going to splash on the screen for a second, and then this image is going to come over the top of it because images will always, image set as a background will always override a background color. So, but the background, well, it didn't even show it here. It should have. What it should have done, and maybe, yeah, there it goes. It did it that time. So you got that little flash of yellow. Then you got the color. Now, I got a brand new M1 Mac computer. I'm running on fiber optics in Scottsdale, Arizona, so I'm running pretty fast. Somebody who's running on a slower computer might see that yellow background for a second or two. So you got to think about how that yellow background is going to work with the image that's coming in. Now, like I said, most of the time, I'm going to leave it down here as transparent. So we have this bar pulled all the way to the left. I'm going to leave that as transparent, but let's say I have a site that the entirety of the background is going to be mostly a black color, like my CFninjaHacks stuff. For the most part, it's all black. So what I want to do instead here is I want to set this background color to black. So we'll go 0000000. That's all black. And then we will save this again. And the same thing would go in a case like this one right here. We would probably want to set this background to white or to transparent. Let's see if I get the black. Just for a split second there, the black showed through. So in a case with this image as a background, I would probably either make it white or I would make it absolutely transparent so nothing had a chance of showing up ahead of time. But always remember that if you put in an image will always override the color, but the color will show through first. So let us do this. Now, in order to get rid of this image now, all you do is highlight on it and just hit delete, and the image is gone. Now, you can also put in a background video. It only works with YouTube. So let me go over here to YouTube. Let's just grab a hold of a link. Copy that link address. Now I got to figure out which tab I'm in. Here I am. So let's just plunk this in there. And so we want the video thumbnail. Okay, let's do that. We want it mute. Normally with a background image like this, you are going to mute it, but it says you could fade the volume in. Hours, minutes, seconds, and so here we would loop it. I'm guessing the hours, minutes, and seconds mean when it would start, how long into the video it would start, but there's really no explanation here, and I generally don't use these things. But you can redirect to URL, we can show a pop-up, or you can hide the video. So you got a lot of options here and what you can do with this background video. But now again, this background video is only for the page. This is not for a section or a row or anything else. This is for the entirety of the page. So let us save this and let's see what we just created here. So it showed that for a second. That should have been the thumbnail of the video, but could be that that was the thumbnail I had set. Let's try here, original settings. Oh, I see. I think the video thumbnail there is, I think I might have had to put that in somewhere, but again, I'm not seeing it. So let's save this again and let's see, because again, not really quite sure why it's doing that. So there's one of the things you're going to have to play around with. Again, this is something I really don't tend to use on a regular basis as background videos, and don't really see too many people using them, to be honest with you. So let's go in here, background, and let's turn this back to false. That should take out the video. Nope, it doesn't want to. So let's go back to true. Let's delete out that video and then put this back to thumbnail, put everything back the way it was. Click on false, and I don't know if it's going to go away or not, so we will click on save. And what we're going to do is we're going to back out here. We're going to exit out of the page, and then we're just going to edit the page and come back in. And generally speaking, when you got something like that, it usually clears it up, but in this case, it is not. So now let's just click on preview and see what we get for a background. See where that image is still stuck in there. That's just crazy. So let's go back in here, and there we go. It was stuck in as a background image, and I guess I didn't see that up there. I'll be interested to see what it looks like when I go in to edit the video. So now let's go down here to our typography. And one of the things you can do here is you can click on themes, and it will give you some matched pairs of different, I guess there's like 6 of them here, different ones that somebody's decided that they think they look good together. And normally you pair a sans serif with a serif, or like that's what this one is here, but these two here both appear to be sans serif. So let's just pick one of these. Let's actually just pick this one here. So that gives us PT Sans as our content font and Arvo as our headline font. Now you don't need to set either of these, but I found that once you set them, you really can't unset them. There is no way to X them out here like there is in the actual elements themselves. So if you want to set this up site-wide so that all of your content is of a certain font and all of your headlines are of another, and you can reset this, of course, in every single one of the elements. But if you want to set something up site-wide, you do it right here. I generally tend to not do that. And then, of course, text color, you can set up the text color any way you want. That would be basically the text color, the default across the entirety of the site, and then you would have your default link color right there. And let me show you one more thing before we leave that. So let's say you want to change what this is from PT Sans. You just click on it, and you have a bunch of sans serif fonts here. You got serif fonts. You have display fonts. And again, serif fonts are the ones with the little or whatever you want to say, curly cues or whatever. at the bottoms here, and sans serif are the ones without it. Sans meaning not. So if you see what the M looks like here, or the N looks like here, and you see the N up here, it doesn't have those little things sticking out the sides of it, known as the serifs. But then if none of these are good for what you're looking for, you can click up here, and you have basically every Google font there is in this list, and you can go through and pick out the one that you want. So now let's move on to last thing here, which is our general tab. And here, got a couple of things. One of them, and I'll have to go over this more at a later date, is on submit, go to. So when we submit a form, meaning we need to submit the information, so like say somebody opts in, we have to take at least their email address, and we have to put a button on the page. So when we click that button, it will always submit the page. Well, let's say that once we submit the page, we don't want it going to the next funnel step. Let's say we want it going from there to your blog. So when they click on that button, they submit the page, you want it going to your blog instead of the next funnel step. Well, that's where you put in here where you want it to go, if you want it to go somewhere other than the next funnel step. And I'll make sure that I show some sort of an example of how that would work. And then digital assets, you can put in, as we talked the other day about our digital assets, you can grab one of them off your list, and you can put that in right here, and then they can download the digital asset from this page. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, I haven't played around with digital assets for so long, I forget exactly how that works, but I guarantee you it's in my video right here that will tell you what happens when you put the digital asset in that space. You can also put on hide the affiliate badge. Now, I said earlier, generally speaking, you want to have your affiliate badge turned off on everything. Then you can come in on an individual page and you could turn it on if you would like. And then here, do you want the search engines to be able to find this page? Now, again, generally speaking, on a funnel, you only want the first page in that funnel to be found by the search engines. So in our case here, the first page in our funnel is our opt-in page. So we're going to say, yes, we want the search engines to find this page. But now let's say 2 pages later is your order form page. You don't want the search engines finding that because you don't want your consumer finding the order form page before they went through the opt-in page and the sales video and all that kind of stuff. So in that case, if it's not the first page of the funnel, you want to click on hide, so you hide that page. And then again, once again, if you want to save this page as a template, you can click on save it. You can give it a name, we'll just call it test, and we can create that template. And then, again, it's going to throw us here into the page templates. And here, of course, is digital assets right below it. So here's our page templates inside of ClickFunnels. So now let's see if I can get back to the page I was currently on. Here we go. Let's go back to our, where were we, background. And let's take that image back out of there again. There we go. And so now we're all good to go there. So we've done everything inside of the settings tab. And so on this side, we only got one thing left, and that is our pop-up. So let's show our pop-up first. And then, so basically how a pop-up works is this here is the equivalent of a section, and we'll talk about sections here. But you also see here, this is lined through, because you can't add any more sections. You have one section to work with, and you can put all the rows that you want inside of it. And then we can say edit the pop-up settings. And what you're going to notice, first off, is there's a dark transparent layer around the background here. And generally speaking, when you do any kind of a pop-up, you kind of want a dark area around it. And so that is set right here. So this is our backdrop, and we can set this, let's just do it temporarily to red. And so now that's what the background is. And so we can, so if we do that, then we want to bring this down so you can see what's going on behind it. But we'll set that back to where it was. You can change the top margin. So we'll do that, and you can also just type directly into anywhere there's a number with a little blank like this. You can always just type directly into that number. We could give it an image background URL. Let's use the stop signs again. We can do that. We can change the image position to 100% width. 100% width and height. I'm not going to go through all the repeats again. And you can do full parallax, which I don't really understand why you would do that, because parallax, it would have to be such a long long pop-up that you'd be able to scroll inside of it, essentially. So that really wouldn't make any sense either to do it as parallax. So we'll just make it 100% width and height. But the truth is, generally speaking, you're not going to put an image on a background on a pop-up. And then we can say, do we want it to show when somebody tries to exit the page? So you take your mouse and you go out the top of the page. You've all seen that before. Do we want it to show when somebody has exit intent, is what they call it. So we're going to say we don't want to show that. We can change the size, medium, large, and small. We'll just leave it as medium. And then we can change the background color, of course, inside of the element itself. And let's make it just kind of, let's make it green. Why not? And then we can change our text color, of course. Now this text color is the overall text color, just like when we set the text color up here in Typography. It's the overall text color of the entirety of the site. This would be the overall text color of this pop-up, but any element you put in here, you can, of course, change the color per element as well. And then we can change the top and bottom padding, and we can do the side-to-side padding. And so you can set your thing up just like that. And then let's go to advanced, and we can change the corners. Let's say we want the corners square. Now let's make them 150 pixels. Yeah, there we go. And let's say we want it bottom only. So it's going to leave the top square. It's going to curve the bottom. I'm just going to make this look ugly, so don't worry about it. So we got full border, solid. Let's say we want to make that dashed instead. And let's make it 10 pixels, and let's make it red. There you go. We're getting very Christmassy now. And so now let's do shadows. We can do a 40% drop shadow, which will make a shadow around the outside of it. Or we can do an inner shadow of course, anywhere between 5 and 40%, and that couldn't look much uglier. So let's do something here. Let's make it solid. Let's do something a little more realistic. We're not going to make the edge. Let's make it black, and then we'll leave 40% drop shadow, and we'll do 5 pixels, and we'll do all of them at 5 pixels, and we'll come back here and we'll make this background color white. And then inside of here, then of course we can come in and we can put in, let's just say, a 1-column row. Again, because it's a pop-up and it's really narrow, you tend to pretty much stick with 1-column rows, 2 at the very max. And then we can put in a headline element and a sub-headline. And oops, didn't want another row there. We'll put in some paragraph text. And then generally speaking, you're going to want somebody to click on a button to go somewhere. So we'll just put a little button in there. And then we're down way too far, so there you go. So this is more of an average standard looking pop-up. It's mostly there to convey information, to get somebody to put in an email address, to get them to click to go somewhere else. That's pretty much what it's usually for. So that is it for this video. In the next video, we will talk about sections, rows, columns, and begin our discussion of the elements. As always, if you got any questions, let me know.